Did you know that in 2022, the U.S. saw the highest levels of inflation in about 40 years, with a 9.1% rise in consumer prices? While inflation has cooled significantly from that consumer price index of 9.1%, and in fact has dropped down to 3.4% as of December 2023, some places are still feeling the effects. For context, the Fed typically prefers for inflation to hover at just about 2%. And so today on Across the Globe, we're going to be looking at the cities and metro areas that have been hit the worst by inflation. To do this, we're going to be looking at a variety of sources, including data collected from WalletHub, which looks at the Consumer Price Index, which is a measure of inflation across numerous metropolitan areas throughout the U.S. Number 10, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The city with the 10th highest rate of inflation in the U.S. is Philadelphia, which also includes the Camden and Wilmington metropolitan areas, according to WalletHub's data. Here, the Consumer Price Index change between December 2022 and December 2023 is listed at 3.9%. Unlike the other cities on this list we're going to be looking at, however, the month-over-month Consumer Price Index comparing October 2023 and December 2023 came in at 0%, indicating that inflation might be stabilizing here. However, one necessarily doesn't seem to be changing much, and that's the cost of groceries. In fact, Philadelphia grocery prices increased more than anywhere else in the country, according to a recent report. Here, the cost of groceries increased 7.4%, with staples like grains, beans, and rice driving up the costs. The report also found that a family of four living in the Philadelphia metropolitan area spends approximately $9,000 per year on groceries alone, which is about $645 more than last year. Monthly, that breaks down to a cost of about $750 per month for a family of four, which is significantly more than it is elsewhere in the nation. Number 9, Denver, Colorado. The metropolitan area of Denver, along with the cities of Aurora and Lakewood, has seen a 4.5% consumer price index change year over year, putting it at number 9 on our list. Like Philadelphia, however, it does seem like things might be about to start turning around here, as December's consumer price index change compared to October 2023 was 0.3% lower, and the 12-month CPI is down 0.9% from September 2023, when the index was 5.4%. Apparently, the effects of inflation are not just felt in Denver, with the average Colorado family spending about $1,206 more than they were several years ago. In Denver, several categories appear to have been hit the hardest by this inflation. For instance, restaurants have especially suffered, with Denver's normal 5% growth in its number of restaurants flipping all the way around to a negative 13% growth, or a 13% decline, leading to the closure of over 220 restaurants. This can be attributed to inflation along with labor shortages and higher costs of goods. Other categories include groceries, with the cost of items like milk increasing from $1.97 in 2022 to $4.75 in 2023, and the price of eggs from $2.01 to $5.11. Number 8. Riverside, San Bernardino, California. Moving on, we find ourselves in California, with the Riverside, San Bernardino, Ontario area. Here in this Southern California region, the Consumer Price Index has seen a 4.3% increase year over year, though month over month this number is, lucky for residents, at 0%. Overall, this means that WalletHub gave this area a score of 59.55 out of 100 for how problematic its inflation is. In the Riverside metropolitan area, goods and services were reported to be up 4.2% as of the period between August and October 2023, and property rents up 2.4%. The cost of food, however, decreased slightly, which is a good sign looking ahead. Looking year over year, though, inflation has taken a larger toll, with rents seeing a 10% increase, energy a 5.1% increase, and food a 3.4% increase. Number 7, Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas is another area that has struggled with inflation over the course of the past year, with WalletHub giving the metropolitan area, which also includes the Woodlands and Sugar Land, a score of 59.62 out of 100 based on inflation concerns. While year over year the Consumer Price Index increased by 4.5% in the Houston area, looking at these past couple of months, the Consumer Price Index has actually decreased by 0.1%, which is a good sign for Texans. Hopefully for them, these declines will continue. Like many of the cities we've looked at so far, one category that's been particularly hard hit is the price of groceries. As one article notes, this has made it particularly challenging not only for the average resident in Houston, but also for nonprofits as they struggle to pay for food to then feed those in need. Number 6. Tampa, Florida. Tampa, along with St. Petersburg and Clearwater, saw a 5.2% Consumer Price Index change between December 2022 and December 2023. Month over month, this score has decreased, though, by a meaningful 0.4%, a trend that will hopefully continue. All in, WalletHub gave the Tampa metropolitan area a score of 61.09, making it the metropolitan area with the 6th highest inflation problem in the country. As of November 2023, experts say that Tampa's 12-month inflation rate was over double the national rate, with food, utilities, and energy costs being particularly high. For instance, between September 2022 and September 2023, food cost 4% more, energy 5.9% more, electricity 9.5%, and gas 5.3%. In terms of housing, things are looking pretty problematic here as well. For instance, while the U.S. saw a 27% increase in the cost of housing in the past 5 years, which is really high on its own, that number was a whopping 46% in Tampa. Year over year, the price increase was more modest, though still above the U.S. average at 12% compared to the U.S.'s 8% increase. Other categories that have seen major increases include homeowners insurance costs, which ballooned from an average of $4,231 in 2022 in Tampa to $6,000 in 2023. For context, nationally, the cost of homeowners insurance increased from $1,544 in 2022 to $1,700 in 2023. Number 5. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit has the second highest poverty rate out of any city in the country, meaning that inflation for those already living on the edge can be a big problem. Here, the poverty rate is 31.5%, or almost 1 out of every 3 people, compared to the national poverty rate of 11.5%. In Detroit, inflation is still an issue, with a rate change of 4.5% when looking at the Consumer Price Index change year over year. Month over month, the Consumer Price Index has stabilized with a 0% change. Unfortunately, one area that's been particularly hard hit is the cost of food. As of April 2023, Detroit saw the highest rate of food inflation prices in the nation. Given this, I bet you can imagine how hard this increase has been for a city that's already struggling. One potential bright side for homeowners, though certainly not for those looking to buy a home, is that Detroit has actually seen an unexpected boom in its housing market, which saw an 8.7% increase in home prices, making it one of the fastest growing markets in the country. Number 4. San Diego, California. Looking at the San Diego metropolitan area, which also includes the seaside town of Carlsbad, has seen a 5.2% Consumer Price Index change over the past year. While the Consumer Price Index has actually decreased significantly over the course of the past 2 months, seeing a 0.2% decline, its year-over-year increase was enough on its own for WalletHub to give the city a score of 66.09, making it the city with the 4th biggest inflation problem in the U.S. Housing is one area that's seen an increase due to inflation, with housing in the San Diego region costing 8.5% more as of December 2023 than it did in 2022. Other areas that have been affected include healthcare, transportation, energy, and the cost of food, with food increasing 3.1% and energy increasing 4%. One plus is that gas has decreased 10% year over year. Number 3. Honolulu, Hawaii. If you've seen any of our other videos, you might not be surprised to see that one of the most expensive places to buy a home in the country, Honolulu, is top of this list. WalletHub gave Honolulu a total score of 70.58 out of 100, due to not only a year-over-year increase in its consumer price index of 3.6%, but also a month-over-month increase of 0.8%. That's right. Unlike some of the other cities on this list, which have recently seen declines in their consumer price index, Honolulu has continued to see issues with inflation. An increase in food insecurity, while due to multiple factors, is one impact of inflation, with the state as a whole seeing a 40% increase in the number of Hawaiians who experience food insecurity. Those in Honolulu are experiencing another problematic event. The cost of water is increasing, with the Honolulu Board of Water Supply increasing rates by a massive 64% for the average household. The result is significant, with a family with a typical monthly bill of $60 now expected to pay almost $100 a month. However, it does seem like Hawaii is making some efforts to combat inflation with, for instance, a meaningful bump of their minimum wage from $12 per hour to $14 per hour. The state estimates that this change will impact 21.8% of the state's workforce and lead to an average increase in annual income of $1,380 for the average minimum wage worker. Number 2. Miami, Florida. Miami, along with the metro areas of Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, has the second highest inflation problem in the nation according to WalletHub. Here, the consumer price index changed 5.7% year over year, although the month-over-month increase did decline by 0.2%. Overall, that means that WalletHub gave this area a score of 72.5 out of 100. Groceries have been particularly hard hit here, with Miami residents estimated to spend the most on groceries out of anywhere in the entire country. For instance, while the national average household spends about $270 per week on groceries, Miami households spend about $328 per week. But those in Miami don't just spend more on groceries than those elsewhere in the country. They also have the highest grocery costs out of anywhere else in Florida, spending about 14% more than Florida's statewide average cost. One of the reasons contributing to the increase in inflation is more people moving to the area, resulting in an increase in demand for things like housing and energy. Number 1. Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. The Dallas-Fort Worth area, along with the city of Arlington, is the top metropolitan region that is still struggling with inflation. WalletHub gave this area an overall score of 93.59 out of 100. As it saw a 0.9% increase in its consumer price index month over month and a 5.2% change year over year. Unfortunately, the overall low cost of living that Texas is known for may be coming at a cost, and in fact, Texas is one of the worst states for high inflation stress, meaning that people here are particularly concerned about inflation. There are many factors leading to inflation in the Lone Star State and in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including the continued effects of the pandemic, the ongoing wars, and labor shortages. Overall, this has led to issues including the area seeing the second highest rate of food inflation prices in the U.S., at a rate of about 14% as of April 2023. Those hardest hit are often low-income Texans, especially those in northern Texas, who are spending as much as 30% of their income on food expenses. An additional issue is that Texas's job growth, which has largely been strong after the pandemic, is predicted to start slowing down, which will likely make the effects of inflation feel even more pronounced. What about the cities in crisis due to illegal immigration?